you, Sandra. Fox News alert. A war of words, meanwhile, in Washington is heating up this morning. President Trump firing back at his former defense secretary after General James Mattis accused the president of, quote unquote, mocking our Constitution in a scathing new op-ed. Meanwhile, there are new reports the current defense secretary, Mark Esper, might be on thin ice with the commander in chief. Our correspondent, Kristen Fisher, is live from the White House with the latest. Good morning, Kristen.
Ed, over the last 48 hours, at least 3 former military leaders have made the exceedingly rare move of criticizing the actions of the current commander-in-chief. First, it was the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mike Mullen, who said that he was sickened by what went down in Lafayette Square on Monday night. And then last night, the former defense secretary, James Mattis, he put out what can only be described as a scathing statement accusing President Trump of making a mockery of the Constitution and of actively trying to divide Americans. The statement reads in part, quote, "I've watched this week's unfolding events angry and appalled. When I joined the military some 50 years ago, I swore an oath to support and defend the Constitution. Never did I dream that troops taking that same oath would be ordered under any circumstance to violate the constitutional rights of their fellow citizens, much less to provide a bizarre photo op for the elected commander-in-chief." Well, it was only a matter of time before President Trump responded, and he did by saying this. He said that James Mattis's primary strength was not military, but rather personal public relations. "I gave him a new life, things to do, and battles to win, but he seldom brought home the bacon. I didn't like his leadership style or much else about him, and many others agree. Glad he is gone." And it's not just former military leaders speaking out. Yesterday, the current defense secretary, Mark Esper, broke with the president and said he would not support invoking the Insurrection Act, which would permit the president to deploy active duty troops on U.S. soil to quell the protests. That has put Secretary Esper's standing in the Trump administration very much in question. But later in the state, the secretary did make a reversal after a meeting right here at the White House, and he will no longer be sending home all of those active duty troops that have been staging right here in the D.C. area. Ed?
All right, we'll watch it. Kristen Fisher, thank you. Sandra?